solely the views of this particular broadcast and do not represent the views and opinions of Straightway Media, its officers, staff, and advertisers.
Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, and welcome again to Porch Talk Radio. Today we have a couple of guests. Last week we had a guest, and because of nature, they didn't quite make it. But this week we have two guests in the studio. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about the vice presidential debate that happened last week, and a couple other things, and then we're going to have our guests speak to you about their candidacy. We have Jim Davison, who is running for City of Tampa City Council, and we have Eric Seidel, who is running for Clerk of the Court. All right. Now, again, we invite you to call in. Call-in number is 813-251-9867. I was disappointed at the debate because I'm one of those folks who actually listen to a debate, to listen to the issues, listen to the conversation. And back in my college days, I actually did some debating myself. So I know that there's an art to that particular game. There's rules. There's ways to maneuver in the process. And I'm just thinking to myself here, and I guess all the ones that's listening, that in a presidential debate and a vice presidential debate, that the rules of debating may have been bent, but these rules was broken, slaughtered, smashed into tiny pieces, because it was nothing resembling a real debate. I mean that's the part. I mean, they call it a debate. Maybe they should change the name, because from the one that the presidential debate and the one from the vice presidential debate, again, they need to change the name, because those were not debates. It is usually count and point and counterpoint, that you kind of look and one works off the other one. And the moderator in a real debate is usually absent. I mean, basically they sit there and they kind of point at people and they may give you a question, and then after that they sit back and listen. And if there's a violation of the rules, I'm just kind of bringing everybody up to point here. If there's a violation of the rule, it is up to the moderator to stop, admonish, or warn someone who is violating the rules and the regulations of it. And I think, and hopefully the networks hear this, have someone that control the mics of the other candidate when it's not their time to talk. Have a slide, have a button, again, because it's disruptive, and I think that's a part of the game that they're playing, but that can easily be controlled by the media. I mean, you just cut their mic off. They can sit there and talk all they want, and the audience won't be able to hear them. I'm just telling you. So if they refuse to listen, I guess you warn them once, or you warn them twice. Then after that, you just slide the level down their mic, and then when it's their time to talk again, you slide it up. I mean, with technology, and it's not disrespectful, because the respect in the process is it's a debate, and you got a format, and you told these people weeks ahead of time. And I'm talking about both the presidential and the vice presidential debate. You told them weeks ahead of time what the rules are. And once you give them the rules, and I'm going to say this, and I mean it the way I say it, it's been proven at some point in time that both of the presidential candidates and both of the vice presidential candidates are willing to bend the rules to their favor. So again, that in advance that's going to happen. So how do you neutralize that? The process manages itself. If you say the rules, these are the rules, you give them a warning, they violate the rules, and then you just kind of take it over. I mean, I think most of the listeners, most of the nation would appreciate that, because you actually get to hear the point, and then you get to hear the counterpoint. As opposed to at one point in time, and I'm not talking about the issues of debate, I'm talking about the debate itself and the process. All three of them, you had the moderator talking, and you had both candidates talking. Okay, no respect, cause that's what that's about. You know, everybody's trying to get their point in at the exact same time, and as a listening audience, that become extremely annoying. Because again, that's kind of like a kindergarten class, and all the kids are trying to talk at the same time. These supposed to be adults, not kids. So again, that's my point on the process. Hopefully, the next debate that's Sunday will be better. Even if the candidates aren't better, the process and the control of the process will be better. So again, if someone's not supposed to be talking, then again, we won't miss them talking to themselves because their mics will be off. Now, with that being said, Mike, I think that the Republican candidate, Pence, handled himself cordially and with tons of reserve. Because again, to not be able to finish your sentence 73 times, again, see, to me, that would be annoying. I got to say, he's a better man than me. See, because I would have, you know, see, that's why I'm not there. See, because I was thinking, like, I say, interrupt me one more time. Okay, and it's going to be on. See, because there's a certain level of respect that happens, too. Especially when you're dealing with men. You know, men got that thing about respect and manliness and all that kind of stuff. And then you don't want somebody to be walking over you and showing, because I'm going to say, Donald Trump, that's the reason he's still left. Because during the process of all those debates, nobody walked on him. See, because they walked on him, he made sure, you know, we're gonna walk on this thing together. So again, you know, that format, you got 9, 10, 20 folks up there, is a different kind of format. And now, you know, I think we want to hear actually what they're intending to say. If you're gonna get goaded, then you get goaded. But again, we want to bring it back to the issues and the questions. And actually, one of these guys could very well be president. You know, because again, both of the candidates are, you know, 60, 70 years old. Life happens. I'm you know, the best of folks can't promise you they're gonna be around, you know, 4 or 5 months. Let's talk about 4 or 5 years. So both of these guys had the potential of being candidates, being president. Now also, issue came up that I was surprised came up. They brought up the issue of abortion, and that's been one of them non-political but political Republican issues. You know, they kind of stayed away from that the last couple of election cycles. I was actually glad it came up because it's hard for me to not think of the fact that, you know, we've legalized something that we've taken common sense out. It's degrees of life that we're measuring with that process now. I mean, considering for me and for most people who bleed the way I do, life starts at the spark, at the very beginning, at the junction. And from that point, that entity, whatever you call it, viable tissue mass, or baby, you know, whatever you call it, it's going to be a person. It's not going to be some other creature. It's not going to be a tomato. It's not going to be a watermelon. It's not going to be, you know, a chimpanzee. It's not going to be a shark. It's going to be a person. And for us to somehow have taken that and devalued life to the point to where we can say, because it's 3 weeks, 36 weeks, or 56 weeks, you know, it has degrees of value. It has degrees of lifeness, if there's such a word as lifeness, you know, that it's not going to be a person at the end of this process. And so that affects me and most people who are Christian and believe that life is value. We can't say how, after a person is born, the value of their life if we don't give them a chance to be born. So again, I'm not going to go on, you know, too long with the abortion issue, but I'm just telling you how I feel about that, and the fact that it came up was important to me. All the other stuff was just basic politics. And again, we can go point by point, issue by issue, but that's not what the debate is about. The debate is about who made the biggest, best, lasting impression on the audience. And even the Democrats have said that Mike Pence won that debate, and the rest of it was just minutia. Because again, if you're interrupting somebody to make a point, that's one thing, but the rules of debate is don't let your opponent dictate your answers. Because see, they want and look
whether it's a neighborhood community center for our children, whether it's policing, whether it's community interactions. One thing we all have in common is our taxes. And we are a donor district. That means our taxes from Waters, Bush, Fowler, all the way up to County Line Road and Morris Bridge Road and Cross Creek Boulevard goes downtown, and we don't get our fair share of services back. And all those problems we have out there, whether it's a connection from Kinnan Street to Pasco County, Mansfield Boulevard, whether it's a neighborhood community center so that pregnant women in New Tampa don't have to register their unborn children to get in line so that their children, when they're born, can participate in the activities there. Or whether it's cleaning up the neighborhood, the parks in North Tampa, whether it's flooding in North Tampa. There are so many issues that depend on having a strong representative. Now, I have been around and I've been involved politically in New Tampa for 20 years. I was the founder of the New Tampa Transportation Task Force, and what we did out there was we united all of the neighborhoods, Tampa Palms, Hunters Green, Arbor Green, Pebble Creek, all the neighborhoods that make up New Tampa. And we went down there to City Hall with one voice, and we demanded that our transportation issues be addressed. And I remember sitting with Mayor Greco and Ron Rattel out at the New Tampa Public Library, and we mapped out what the improvements were going to be. And that's how Cross Creek Boulevard got attached to Morris Bridge Road. That's how the bridge got scheduled to be put over I-75 from West Meadows into Tampa Palms. That's how Bruce B. Downs got the attention and the focus to be widened. That's how the flyover got put in. So there's so many things that we can do if we unite as a people. And that's what I do. I'm an ER physician. I've been dealing with people's problems all my life. I enjoy it. I enjoy helping people. And I'm good at it. My latest endeavor was everyone listening to this in District 7. We, myself and a few other people, helped the county commissioners stop an unjust half-cent sales tax for transportation, in quotes. It really wasn't for transportation. And that saved everyone in District 7 money. It was a regressive tax, and it wasn't being put where it was supposed to be or what it was said to be. So we were successful in doing that, and I'm the only one of the 6 candidates that has been able to stop government from taxing the people. I have the only candidate that has brought transportation improvements to District 7. And as we continue and go down through this, that's exactly what I plan on doing. I plan on uniting the entire district, North Tampa and New Tampa, and we're going to address these problems one at a time. We're going to bring back the money to District 7, and we are going to improve the quality of life. District 7 has more potential than any other district in Tampa. And it's about time they understand that downtown, and it's about time we get somebody downtown that isn't afraid to stand up. And I would appreciate your support on November 8th. You can go to votejimdavison.com and take a look at my website, and I would appreciate your support. And thank you very much. And Eddie, you have any questions or any thoughts?
Well, you have the listening audience of WTMP is different from most of the other radio stations in the area because it's basically targeting the black community. So as everyone is aware of now, black votes matter. So what do you bring that would entice them to vote for you?
That's a good question. Basically, there are issues, and I think close to 50% of the vote in District 7 is Hispanic and black in the Democratic caucus. And there are many things that we share. It's not just these aren't black taxes, these aren't white taxes, these aren't Hispanic taxes, these are our taxes.
Right.
And that's what we want to bring back. Job opportunities. I was at a workshop the other day for the Innovation Alliance around Fowler Avenue, and it was one of my ideas that the USF establishment has to blend itself out into the community to make itself more involved with the community. so that the community can benefit from the presence of USF being there, both culturally, socially, and economically. And those are the things that have to be done. I was just on a walking tour of Forest Hills. There are parks in Forest Hills that are abominable. They need to be cleaned up. They need to be made presentable so that people can now enjoy them again. They've been left ragtag. And you can say that throughout North Tampa. Those are the things that our taxes can do that haven't been able to be done because they're all funneled downtown. They go to building parks downtown. Now they want the stormwater system downtown. That probably didn't have to be done. Should they be able to just pay off that stormwater and end that fee? Those are things that need to be talked about now. And this is important because that stormwater fee is a regressive tax.
Yes, it is.
And so those are the things that I'd like to bring into North Tampa, into New Tampa.
And it don't benefit the whole city. That's the thing about it. If you look at the way politicians look at the different sectors of the city, South Tampa get the bulk of the attention because they vote. And I have heard complaints from candidates that North Tampa and the urban core, some of those areas you can't get into. A lot of those communities in North Tampa have gated communities, so they can't get in there to work them. And the people within those communities don't vote. I mean, North Tampa is, if you take the demographics and stuff, it's equal. I mean, the financial impact, the demographic and all that stuff is the same as South Tampa. But the difference is the folks in South Tampa show up at the polls and vote. And the urban core has been blamed for not voting in North Tampa. I mean, you know, Eric is shaking his head because because we're out there pounding the pavement, all the candidates that are walking, the folks that are helping the candidates, the volunteers and stuff, and it's just some areas within the community we have learned that a lot of those folks don't vote, and Obama won't be on the ballot this time. So there need to be some stimulus, to get the urban core to show up and vote, and the folks in North Tampa to leave their gated communities. So I mean, as you look at this process, give us some information that you think can help improve the voter turnout, because I know as a candidate, you just walk in and you're doing your thing, but there's got to be some ideas once you get elected of how you improve the return on the dollar, because everybody's paying taxes.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that we have to get down and we have to be able to ask the mayor and address the mayor, because it is a strong mayor form of government, that he's the only one that can address those spending of the taxes. We can only vote on them and say this is what we would like to happen. And lately the council hasn't been strong enough to change the mayor's minds. But I can tell you this, that when I was doing the civil activist in New Tampa, we had a thing called New Tampa Votes, precisely to address that idea that New Tampa was not a voter. We increased the voting, and we joined together, and we represented almost 25,000 people in one block before City Council on transportation issues. It became so important that the mayor of Tampa, Greco, moved out to New Tampa, into Tampa Palms, and stayed there for several years, and we got things done. That is what we have to do. I don't care who you send downtown. I don't care. Jesus himself may have trouble on this council without the backing of the people in the district. You have to go out and vote. Vote for yourself. There are too many people who have fought wars. There are too many people who have walked on marches for you not to get out to vote. That is the most important thing. That's your responsibility as an American. Do not tread it lightly.
Right. Well, thank you very much, and I guess we'll leave with the closing remark. Some last words that you want to leave the people. Some last thought. How they can contact you, how they can help you. That kind of information. So you may get a couple of phone calls after the show. Someone saying, "Yeah, I heard what you say, and we want to help." So make sure they get that information.
Well, thanks again, Eddie and Gabriel, WTMP. Again, that's Vote Jim Davison, DAVISON, at gmail.com if you want to email me. My website is votejimdavison.com. And I'm open to any questions you would have, If you want to help or support, there's a support button there. If you want a yard sign, that's on the website. You can just put in your address and we'll deliver the yard sign. Again, these are not white. There are issues. Black Lives Matters, and there are other issues that we deal with. But there is more things that unite us than divide us. And if we do not get united and we allow them to divide us, District 7 is never going to get what it deserves. And it, like I said, it has more potential than any other district in the city. And the people out there, if they will just get up, get off the couch, get out and vote, that we can actually get this done. I am the only candidate that has stood in front. All the other candidates, while we were talking about this half-cent sales tax and TBX, had an opportunity to stand before the MPO and the county commission. Some of them were actually in the room when these were being discussed at public hearings and never stood before the commission or the MPO and put in their 2 cents. I was able to stop the sales tax and save you all money. And that's what I plan on doing as your city councilman. Thank you very much.
I think the city deserves Jim Davidson. 9867. Next up, we have my good friend, Eric Seidel. Eric's been around a while. I remember when Eric was on TV, and you see Eric helping people. See, that's the thing about it. When you see people in their normal workaday life, and what they're doing is helping people, you know, those are special people, and you never forget them. So years and years and years later, you kind of say, oh, yeah, I remember that guy because I saw him on TV, and every time I saw him, he was helping people. So he is still in the helping people business, and Eric's going to introduce himself, tell you who he is, and what he's running for, and hopefully he can get you to vote for him. Eric.
Yes, thank you, Eddie and Gabriel. Many of the listeners out here may remember me. I was the consumer lawyer on Fox 13 for almost 20 years, from 1991 through 2010. And what I did, you're right, Eddie, I mean, I took calls, I took emails. This was before emails, so I was taking calls and I was taking letters. And some of those letters were hard to read because people's problems, I mean, I just had no idea. It was an eye-opener when I started the job in 1991. To just the problems in people's lives and how they've built up, and sometimes how they let one problem build up after another until it was just catastrophic. So it took a while to unwind all that. I mean, it will start with something small like a bill being owed, and then it ends up with, like, you know, my husband passed away and now they're foreclosing on the house and the car, I can't drive it. It just would get crazier and crazier until you realize these people were on the verge of giving up. So the important thing is to really handle things as they happen. And I tried to express that to people, and then of course I would come in after the fact and try to rectify the whole situation. Well, I did that for 20 years, and I was always an attorney, so I was able to bring that legal expertise to it, if you will. And my title was the consumer lawyer, so people remember me as consumer lawyer Eric Seidel on Fox 13, and my name almost became like a household word. They said, I'm going to call Eric Seidel, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and it's great. And then as the internet came along, I started to lean more and more onto my legal practice, and I've done that for the last 5 years. And you'll notice more people are leaving television. All my old colleagues, John Wilson and Denise White and everybody are gone, and they're all either retired or they moved on. And you see that it's time for the young kids. They're hiring lower priced talent, and you know, I mean,
just saying.
No, not on the radio. I'm not talking about radio. But television, if you notice, if you watch TV, I mean, it's not what it used to be, and it's not anybody's fault. It is technology. TV is where radio was when TV came along. We have the internet now, and we're leaving TV behind, and whatever it can provide is good. But local news, I mean, young folks these days all go online onto their iPhones, better yet, or onto their smartphones, and look for the weather or the sports or the news, and that's and that's only technology. But anyway, that's my history. So now I was in doing my own private practice, and then now with McIntyre Law Firm for the last 5 years. And I was looking to give back, do some more public service, give back to the community, and I started to hear a lot of issues that were circulating around the clerk of court. And that's how I came to be a candidate for Hillsborough Clerk of Court. So I am the only candidate. I'm actually running as the Republican because we have a Democratic candidate who's been there for several terms. And there are several issues. I started to hear about my fellow lawyers having some issues with filing and judges with receiving the court files in time for trials to start even. Just to explain what the clerk of the court does, and I think maybe that would be the best thing to do, because a little civics lesson. There are 5 constitutional officers in most counties here in Florida. You have your sheriff, the clerk of court, which I'm running for, tax collector, property appraiser, and a supervisor of elections. These are the 5 what they call constitutional officers, and they are partisan races. So you will see a Republican sheriff or a Democratic supervisor of election like we have. It's almost split down the lines. We have a Republican, like I said, a tax collector, but we at the same time we have a Democratic property appraiser, and those people have to work together to make sure your property is appraised properly, and then you get the right tax bill at the end of the year. So once you become a constitutional officer, in my opinion, and I think in almost any right-thinking person's opinion, there's no room for politics at that point. You cannot say, if you're the sheriff, I'm going to arrest Democrats because I'm a Republican. You know, it just does not work.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so you've got to be objective at that point. And obviously, I am consider myself very, very objective in this situation. I am, however, an attorney, so I understand all the documents that get filed at the clerk's office. And I don't think we've had an attorney clerk in many, many decades. I've gone back all the way in my mind and in other people's minds, and we cannot find an attorney who was clerk. And in my thoughts, that really is important, because you need to know what's being filed there. It's all the lawsuits, it's everything legal for the county, people's title, people's birth certificates, any appeals, any judgments, any liens, all of that gets filed at the clerk's office. The clerk also keeps all those records, provides them when needed. You have to keep them safely. The clerk is where you will go to get a marriage license, a passport. It's also the CFO for the entire county. Now, in saying that, a lot of people go, oh, so you make the budget. No, what the CFO does is the county commission decides what to spend money on, and then the clerk of the court, as the CFO, writes the check. So basically, all the salaries for anybody in the county are paid by the clerk of court. We deliver the mail. They do everything for the county offices. It is a basket of services that all the other constitutionals cannot do, or are not able to do. It goes to the clerk's office. The clerk also is in charge of investing all your taxpayer dollars. So we have a huge multi-billion-dollar income in taxes, and I think it's very important that we play very safe with that money. You don't want to be going after, and this is all the experience I have as the consumer lawyer, you don't want to be chasing after some great interest rate, hoping that you're going to help the people in the county with this great interest rate. Then, God forbid, something happens and your money isn't accessible, or the investment tanks. So I think it's very important that we keep money in reserve to help people. If there's a disaster, a natural disaster like a hurricane like we almost had hitting this county, and we all know how FEMA is late on those funds very often,
Oh, yeah.
we may need the money to help unfortunate folks in our community, services, rescue, all of those things. We should have some liquidity in that process. So in my view, we want some liquidity first. We do not want to ever sacrifice our capital, our balance, or play any type of games with that. And then third, we can look at interest rates. So I'm a very, very much of a conservative with your taxpayer dollars, but I think it's really just a smart plan, and it's something that I've always advised on TV. Especially as you get older, you don't want to take risks. When you're younger and you have plenty of money and you got a good income, well, maybe you want to take a few chances with getting a high interest rate. But to play a conservative when you're dealing with other people's money, and certainly with something as important as your tax dollars. The clerk's office, very interestingly, is not supported by tax dollars. It's supported by all the fees that people pay. So yeah, and there's plenty of fees. Lawyers like us, when we go to file a lawsuit,
Right.
We tell everybody, hey, look, there's going to be a fee even if we do this for free. There's a fee to file. There's a fee for this. There's a fee for that. Collection of judgment. There's fees, and those go to the clerk of the court to run the operation. There are 730 employees of the clerk's office. So there are many clerks in courtrooms. Those are the people that take the evidence, write down the results of the trial, preserve things for appeal. There's a whole evidence department where when you turn the gun or the drugs or whatever over in the courtroom to the clerk, that goes to the clerk, and we have a chain of custody to make sure that that's preserved because, hey, God forbid if somehow that chain of custody is broken, well, somebody's life is in the balance, whether it's being put away or going free when they should or shouldn't, whatever. So that's another thing. As the consumer lawyer, I realize that all the documents that are filed at the clerk's office are people's lives. We're dealing with sometimes life or death when we're talking about, someone going to jail or prison, but also just about anything there is affecting somebody's life, whether it's a bankruptcy, a family law case. We do domestic violence injunctions, and that's where you go, not the police. You go to the clerk's office if you feel your spouse or your significant other is abusing you and physically, and you want to get an injunction. Well, that's where you go, and it's very important that we are available to do those things. So, what are my plans? What's my platform? Very simply, customer service. Make sure that when you go there, when you go to the clerk's office, you don't get in a long line like you do now, get to the end of the line and find out you're in the wrong line. We need a greeter there. It's as simple as when you go to the mobile phone store. Somebody greets you and asks how we can help you. That's what we need, and we need plenty of those at all points of customer interaction. Number two, the technology, the website. We're living in the internet age. We should be able to access everything online. We're not. There are many forms that are not available. Did you know you can't pay your traffic tickets online? That's a major function of the clerk's office. Now, at this point, we should be in the smartphone age. We all have phones we carry around. We should be able to pay our parking tickets, our speeding tickets, anything like that using our smartphone, right?